So hi guys, on the 2nd of April, the symbolic Great Dragon came crashing down in the form of the Chinese space station Tiangong-1, nicknamed Heavenly Palace, or meaning Heavenly Palace. And then on the 3rd of April, we pointed out this Google Doodle, which seems to have a reference to time and to water. And then on the 4th of April, we pointed out that the Dr. Maya Angelou's poem, or Angelou's poem, seems to be manipulated, and it has a very serpent-like feeling to it in the way that the speech is conveyed across, and the message in that speech is I rise. So Great Dragon coming down, water time, I rise. And I think I just want to kind of put a warning out there for today, because looking at this Google Doodle again, I can see obviously that there's 6 clock faces in this depiction, but only kind of like 5 of them, kind of appear to be working. So I'm looking at it in 2 ways. If it is a, conveyed symbolic message, it could be that, this water time could be on the 5th, or because this is the 5th clock face, and it appears to have a target, or some form of crosshairs over it. It could also be interpreted as gears, which again have association with clocks and other mechanical items. But if it is a crosshairs or a target, then it's on the 5th clock. But if you include this one as well, then it's on the 6th clock. This obviously came out on the 3rd of April, and we have what appears to be a locust, or even a grasshopper, leaping away from this 4th or 5th clock, depending on whether you include this one down here. If it is leaping away from the 4th clock, then it's possible that this one could be referencing a target on the 5th, maybe, or it could be that this is the 5th clock and it's representing a target on the 6th. That's just a cautionary warning, so I have really not much to go on with that one, but I just wanted to kind of point it out, because we've obviously seen quite a few biblical things take place in the last couple of days, and they've taken place sequentially in terms of the symbolic references that have been displayed in front of us. From March the 31st to the 1st to the 2nd to the 3rd, there's been symbolic messages on each of those days. And obviously we're now entering in, I'm on the 5th already. It is 5:24 in the morning. The East Coast will just be on the 5th as well, 12:24 in the morning there. So a lot of things have been taking place over the last couple of days, and today, one of the things that they were talking about is Martin Luther King. Is 50 years since he died, and obviously 50 in itself is a symbolic number. There's been 50 killings as of today in London. One of those killings that took place today was in Hackney, and I last mentioned Hackney when I was referring to Hackney Wick in a report not too long ago, where I mentioned after the symbolic Great Dragon crashing down, the massive fire that took place there reminded me of a wick igniting, so or a wick being lit and burning down. So that could be a symbolic reference to a countdown in that sense. And the other reference to Martin Luther King is he died when he was 39 years old, and obviously we know of someone else who died when they were 39 years old. This woman, Nasim Aghdam, whose name translates to White House Breeze, which could reference a political change, like administration change, or an explosion, or a strong wind, like a hurricane or tornado or something like that. There's been a lot of reference to storms and Stormy Daniels, Calm Before the Storm, and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of things to point out there. In this image, they're using the lion, which obviously has reference to Lion of Judah. So more biblical references that they're using there. And this is kind of what they've been doing. So in reference to Martin Luther King, Lawrence O'Donnell here says a couple of things that I just want to point out.
Was in Memphis at the Masonic Temple the night before he was assassinated.
Now, what he said there was the last time Martin Luther King spoke was the night before he died on April the 3rd at the Masonic Temple, but that's not quite accurate. He spoke at the Mason Temple, which is a Christian International Sanctuary and central headquarters of the Church of God in Christ, the largest African American Pentecostal group in the world. And what he actually said was the Masonic Temple, which obviously is part of Freemasonry, the room or edifice where Masonic Lodge meets. Masonic Temple may also refer to an abstract spiritual goal and the conceptual ritualistic space of a meeting. And it caught my attention with the abstract spiritual goal. What is the abstract spiritual goal of, mentioning Martin Luther King in reference to the Masonic Temple rather than the Mason Temple? A mistake, maybe, but I really don't think so, because these things are, segments of it are recorded in advance. So, if that was the case, they had a chance to correct it, and they didn't. Could be that it was missed, or it could be that it was intentionally left in there to symbolize something else, because obviously number 39 breaks down into a couple of different things, like 666, 999, which is the emergency number here in the UK. It also breaks down into 18, which is one of the days I'm looking at in April the 18th. It also breaks down into 27, 999, 918, 27. 27 of April is a day that North and South Korea are meeting. That is Kim Jong-un and Moon Jae-in, the first such meeting of the leaders of these two countries that's happened in a very, very long time. So particularly significant, especially if it's, referenced in the IPEC video in terms of peace, something happening during like the peace times or when a peace deal is going on. And that's the girl running out with the white flag. So, it's possible that it could extend onto there. Just putting out some thoughts and some warnings as I'm looking at these things. So let's play a little bit more.
Every Martin Luther King Jr. speech had political content, and most had the emotion and rhythm and religious content of a sermon. The last speech had all of that. It was classic Dr. King. More than 40 minutes long, full of political argument and strategy, prayers and predictions, all delivered with no notes. Dr. King very explicitly called for nonviolence above all else in Memphis. He suggested that boycotts of some local banks and big companies like Coca-Cola might be necessary to get mayors to pay attention. He had death on his mind that night. He told the story of how he almost died years earlier when he was stabbed at a book signing in New York City. He revealed that the airline pilot on his flight from Atlanta that morning told him that the plane had been thoroughly searched for bombs and that the plane was guarded through the night because they knew Dr. King was reserved on that flight. And then he said this.
Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And he's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So I just wanted you guys to hear that, because obviously I think it isn't a coincidence that on April the 2nd we had the reference to the dragon coming down. On April the 3rd we had the reference to water and time. On April the 4th we had the reference to I rise in that snaky type of voice. And then today, again, April the 4th, just coming into April the 5th, we get this message that's being used from Martin Luther King. Again, another manipulation of a message that says, I've seen the promised land, and references going to the mountaintop. And I pointed out a lot of connections in the last couple of days with the media and the Bible, and I think this might be another one in terms of Matthew 24, just the section that says, then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. I don't know if it's accurate, but a couple of references to mountains are made in the Bible, but this particular one speaks of fleeing to the mountains at a time when there may be some other troubles going on, like nation rising against nation, and famines, pestilences, earthquakes in diverse places. Um, these things all at the beginning of sorrows, and obviously, I'm just kind of linking it all together. The symbolic great dragon coming down, the reference to water and time, which is a possible reference to a tsunami, which we've all kind of heard about and know about by now. Then the I rise reference, I rise from the dust. The whole manipulation, the Garden of the Eden reference. Um, and then we get to the mountaintop in reference. I think it may be a suggestion of fleeing to the mountains. I don't know. This is just my thoughts. I'll put them out there. I'm not prophesying. I think there's four P's when it comes to uh, talking about the future, and that's prophesying, predicting, probability, and possibility. And those four things are different sections. I think different people have different talents in those sections, so um, I just kind of work off of probability and possibility and interpret the signs as I see them in the way that I think they're meant to be seen. So that's pretty much it on that. But you know, more connections with the Martin Luther King thing in terms of ringing the bells 39 times across the nation. Again, the 39, 666, 18, 27, 999, all of those numbers can be taken out of there. And that's pretty much what I see. So just for a quick recap, we've had a lot of references in the Google Doodles over the last couple of days. Water time, I rise, the possible reference to the fifth or the sixth, depending if you include this broken clock down here. And this could be suggesting, get away like the day before on the fourth or the fifth. I really don't know. That's just an outside interpretation that I'm kind of just bringing in. And then the whole Martin Luther King thing, dying at the age of just 39. This strange woman, Nasim, White House breeze, dying at the age of 39. 50 years since his death, the 50th killing in the UK, kind of reach at the same time. The maybe mistaken reference to the Masonic Temple from Lawrence O'Donnell, but really don't believe in coincidences. So it could be an abstract spiritual goal they're trying to achieve by using the Martin Luther King legacy, the same way they used the Mary Angelou poem, to use it in a different way, in a satanic way, flip it upside down, do what they do with it, and then the possible reference that if they're using the Angelou poem to say I rise for the serpent, and they're using the Martin Luther King speech, the Mountaintop, then it could be possible that it may be referencing this part of the Bible. And I already think that the things that come before this part have already transpired or are transpiring as we speak. Definitely wars, rumors of wars going on. Definitely kingdom against kingdom, nation against nation, famines, pestilences, earthquakes. They're all going on right now. So, it could be that we're, reaching into this part now, and that could be what's referenced there, and that could be April the 5th, April the 6th, or it could be April the 18th, or possibly even the 27th. Definitely, if none of those other days come to pass, then the 27th is definitely something that you should watch for this Kim Jong-un, Moon Jae-in meeting. I think that'll be significant if we get that far without anything happening. So you guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and God bless.